Hey, it's hashtag story year. Jaron and I are here.
Welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back. Um, so, Jaron was just telling me something that has been on his mind lately.
Yeah, with story year, one of the things that I want to make sure that I'm doing when I'm sharing these stories is that I'm able to share them in the most authentic way. And so, if I'm talking about stories that are of high importance to me or at a huge developmental piece to my life, but they involved other people, I've kind of had difficulty trying to figure out how do I make sure that I tell the most authentic story that honors myself as well as the other person. And so, without having to tell them, hey, what is your story from your perspective? So that's been one of those things where it's like, whatever I do, I want it to be positive. I always want people to be represented in the best version of themselves. And so it's just been one of those things where if it was something that I might have taken as a negative when I was younger and I learned and grew from it, um, I think it was a positive, but in talking about it, it can make another person might seem not as great of a person. And I never want that to happen. So it's been difficult trying to share some of the stories that have had a huge impact on my life.
Well, so it's interesting that you say that because just yesterday I went to go see a play at the Hippodrome, which is the local professional theater here in Gainesville, called Collected Stories, and that's kind of the crux of this play. The idea that when you share a story, either when you're in a story with someone else in their story, or
Yeah.
you share one of your personal stories with someone else and it becomes a part of their story,
Mm-hmm.
what is your responsibility to them
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
when you want to share that story?
Okay.
So in the play, this one character shares a very personal experience that they had when they were younger with the other character in the play. And so that second character was so moved by it that and this is spoiler alert, so if you intend to go see Collected Stories, just a spoiler warning. That second character who is told the story, it resonated so strong with her that she wrote a book about it. That she wrote a book about this first person's story. And that first person didn't want their story in the world. In fact, she was quoted in the play. She says, you know, that story you don't touch.
Oh wow.
And she was kind of saying it about herself. This would have been great material for a book or something,
Right. Yeah.
but it was her personal story that she wanted to keep for herself. And so there's this climactic scene. I guess what I'm getting at is that there's this climactic scene where after the book is, getting ready to be published, the character whose story is being shared now with the world is very upset because it's her story. And this other person didn't have the right to tell her story from her perspective
Right.
when it was such a personal story that wasn't intended to be shared.
Right.
And it really got me thinking about the idea of, what do you owe other people when they are part of your story? And one of the goals that Self-Narrate has always had is to not share other people's stories
Right.
when they don't want us to.
Right.
The very first time we went tabling at Turlington Plaza with our signs that say, "Tell us a story and we'll give you $1," we told people specifically that we would never tell their stories in any public way.
Yep.
And we have not done that. We took their pictures for the class project just to have in our PowerPoint when we presented at the end of the semester. But we never put those pictures anywhere. There's some really good ones that I wish we could share, but we said we never would, and we never will. The thing is, that's part of storytelling. You can't. It is your responsibility to your friends and family when they're part of your story to not. Oh, what's the word I'm looking for? To not overexpose something that they don't want to share.
Right. Yeah.
It's very difficult for you to authentically tell someone else's story from their perspective, especially when it doesn't put them in the most positive light. I guess what I'm getting at is it's not like the worst thing in the world if you have their permission, but if you can't tell a story that in such a way that they would be okay with, it's kind of self-narrate's policy to say you probably shouldn't do it.
Right. Yeah. Cool beans. Well, I'll continue to try and figure out how to share my most authentic stories, and continue to put people in the best light.
Yep, and we hope to hear your stories as well for #StoryYear. Post something on YouTube or any social media, tag it up, and we'll definitely repost it from our social media feeds. All right, see you next time.